Hi, welcome to Nerds and Stuff.
Give us your fucking lunch money.
Right.
Anyways,
Hello, and welcome to Couch Time. I'm Martin.
I'm Sterling.
and I'm Daniel.
And
we're Nerds and Stuff.
Woo, 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 woo.
Today we're talking about...
Today we're talking about character backstories and shit. Mostly for your tabletop role-playing game experiences.
I believe you mean and stuff.
Oh, sorry, and stuff. And shit is after dark.
Yeah.
Ba, 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 da. Before we get into our topic today, we're going to go ahead and take a real quick moment to thank our associate producers, or Patreon backers. We're going to call you associate producers
That's
as well.
a film credit.
That sounds really fucking important, and you guys are really fucking important. So, super important.
Super important.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah. Hard R already. Thanks, Martin. Okay, so first of all, I would like to shank Daniel Sheldon. Thanks, Daniel.
Don't
Daniel.
shake, Daniel.
Shink.
Emma. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. We thank everybody after they say a name, Daniel. And we shank them. Okay. Popcorn Daniel.
Philip Samara Jr.
Hey!
Thanks, Junior.
Thanks, Junior.
Junior, yay. J. Patrick Walker, thank you so much.
Thank you. Jenny Ottaway. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Jenny.
Cat Pretzer.
Cat Pretzer!
Thanks, Cat.
Thanks,
Your
Kat.
name is like pretzel, but Pretzer.
It's so close.
Kelly Baker.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.
McKenna Bailey. Thank
Thank
you.
you, McKenna.
Mike.
I-
ILO.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, thank you so
We
much.
got that one.
And welcome to our Patreon group. Woo!
Sean Putnam. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. Stephen Dewey. Thank you.
Thank you, Steven.
Stephen Dewey. Thank you. He gets two thank yous. He gets two
Double
thank yous.
dip.
Yeah. And then last but certainly not least, Tomas Preble. Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Thomas.
Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get to our channel update. You were here for character backstories. You've been duped by all this front-loaded BS. What
We
the
got
hell?
ya.
Yeah, we got you. Right. Miniature painting guy. Would you like to give us a miniature painting guy update?
I should be having a new video coming out within the next 2 weeks. It's another painting video, if you're surprised. It is the Imperial Salt Darth Vader model, which I really love the way it turned out. And we need a little bit more out of you, Sterling. We gotta
Uh-oh.
bring the music up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought he was talking mad shit or something.
I know, I was
Why don't
like-
you do
Yeah,
more
why don't
around
you
here,
fucking
Sterling,
paint,
huh?
man? I mean,
I didn't earn the other guy name by
I'm
nothing.
the other guy.
Yeah. I paint like Michael J. Fox, so you don't want to see my painting miniatures. Hi, Michael, if you're watching. I loved you in Back to the Future.
You were
2.
great.
Also, would you consider
Just the
donating
second-
$1 on
the second's
Patreon?
terrible. The second's terrible.
What?
We got that video coming out, and I've been doing some test paints on a couple of different schemes, too, so I should have more coming from the Warhammer 40k universe.
Cool.
That's it for mini painting.
Yeah, so get your paint brushes ready.
Yeah.
Lick them brushes.
You're just like, yeah, get them paint brushes ready, girl.
We gonna
Yeah.
go painting.
Onto our resident creep ass, Sterling. Let's hear a little bit about Legacy of Ass.
Hi, everyone. Legacy of Ass is back in full swing. I mean, Legacy of Ash is
Yeah.
back in full swing.
If we're gonna call it Legacy of Ass, we need to come up with like booty shaking terms, like it's getting
Swing?
dropped,
Is-
like it's at the club or something.
Swing works.
Something. Yeah.
Swing.
Anyway, we have...
You shake the booty like a Polaroid picture.
Not if you're classy.
You're gonna have to cut us off, man.
This is terrible. We have another...
Yeah, it's Friday night. We're all jacked
boy.
up on Mountain Dew.
And Doritos.
Anyway, we
It's
have
Funyuns.
enough
It's Funyuns.
recorded for the rest of the 2017, as well as we are currently recording new sessions to
Tomorrow.
make sure we have
Tomorrow.
a bunch more coming out.
Tomorrow, I'll shit on Sterling right then. No, Remy's been getting pooped on pretty hard, so
Yeah.
stay tuned for that.
Yep.
Bruno's been getting crunked at the club with RC, so minor spoilers ahead, but Legacy of Ash has been a lot of fun. As we said last couch time, we took quite a few months off.
Long break.
Because Jenny went to the frozen north of Wisconsin.
If we weren't cold enough in Idaho, She went to Wisconsin.
I'm from Minnesota. That Idaho ain't cold, dude.
It's cold here.
It's not as cold in
I need
Minnesota,
to live
man.
in a place where the air
And all you
doesn't hurt my face.
Canadian fans, you tell Daniel what cold is. How's that? Tell him down and below, and then we'll make fun of you because you're from Canada.
Sorry.
All right, sorry. Okay, right. So we took some time off, and we got back into it. And so episode 6 has 2 more episodes, or 2 more sessions. It's really weird with the naming convention. I went with Star Wars naming convention, where every big thing is called an episode.
It is
but
so
throws
hard
off,
to talk about
It throws off
these.
the rest of the shit, because everything else is just an episode, but Star Wars is like a chapter is an episode, and then you get really... I mean, there's like a whole flow chart I could put on screen that I'm not going to, because I just really don't want to edit that in. So, so we've got 2 more hours, depending on when you watch this, probably 1 more hour. There's only 4 parts in episode 6, but episode 7 is amazing. It's like Hope's Light meets Corellia, and it is a lot of fun. Not to go into too much detail, there's some pretty funny jokes that we're still laughing about. Mostly droid cannons, but we won't spoil that too much. So look forward to that. We've got a lot of great stuff coming from Legacy of Ash here in the next couple weeks. Right, so we just came out with a dread called Beneath a Metal Sky. And I don't know I said it like that because it really has nothing to do with evil guys sounding dramatic.
I thought you were being like a metal drummer.
Ooh, a metal drummer?
Yeah.
New
Like-
idea for
like-
a future dread.
Metal drummers. Oh, he's actually got a real suggestion.
It's like
Everybody get ready. Most of Daniel's stuff is on the cutting board. Let's hear it. Metal drummer.
It's like a haunted rock festival.
No. Hard pass.
Slasher.
Let us know if you don't want to see that in the comments below. Anyways, no, we have a new dread coming out that's not that one. Fuck you, guys!
Look, maybe if we play Scooby-Doo at a metal concert, we can do
See, that's
that.
the damn thing. We did too much research for Scooby-Doo. I can't get it out of my goddamn head.
Scooby-Doo.
Like, zoinks!
So we have a dread coming out in 2017. It's going to be around the holidays, I'm thinking. We haven't shot it yet, so I'm hoping that this is a promise that I can, make.
The horse is here, and our cart is, like, here.
Yep. So we'll definitely keep using analogies to keep you informed with the upcoming dread. I have a title for it and I have an idea for it, but I'm just gonna leave you guys with that tidbit for now, and we'll talk about that dread coming up later. Were you scratching like a junkie? I need more of that dread, man. That's some of the
I haven't bought any plastic in a little while.
That's some of the fans in the comments is like, we just released a dread, and they're on the last
dog.
episode, and they're like, hey, you got any more of that dread?
You want to just do dread weekly?
No.
I like my hair. I don't want to lose all of it from anxiety.
I like having friends that come over to my house and play games.
My beard's already turning gray. You want me
Yeah.
to do more dread?
Yeah. And it's hard to prepare dread, because like some of these other games, we just wing it. But dread is like a really kind of prepare the story ahead of time, because horror is generally best when it's linear. And I know a lot of people out there are like, ugh, linear stories, blarg darg darg, with their neck beard and their their computer comments. But horror is amazing when it's linear. And so you need to create a linear story that leads players to a destination, but gives them free agency and free will inside that story. And so it's really hard to get that good mix and write a good, compelling story with a strong ending and red herrings and all this other shit that we've done in the past. Now, this last one was not an original story. It was one of the ones from the book, but the next one will be an original story. So that'll make us 3 out of 4, which ain't bad. So that's Dread. We also are hoping to do a couple more one-shots in different systems that we haven't run on the channel before. We basically are wanting to make like a kind of strong push before the end of 2017 as far as recording-wise, so that way we have enough content to cover when I'm going to be MIA, basically taking care of a newborn daughter. So
it is coming up quick.
Yeah, that's happening in January, like January 6th. So yeah, so I might be MIA, but I'll still be cranking out content as much as possible. Luckily enough, we do have a lot of Legacy. We will have some one-shots, and we'll be having some RPG talks and some miniature painting and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. Next, we are launching T-shirts. Like, right frickin' now.
Like, we really mean it. We've been talking about it for a little while, but we've got designs we're going to be dropping.
Yep, so we're planning on having at least 4 designs. 4 designs. We have Legacy of Ash, Nerds and Stuff generic, that was actually made by a fan. We're going to have a Friends Like These, and I think we're going to have a second Legacy of Ash. We're not entirely sure yet. We're still working out the final details between when we record this and when you're watching it. And somewhere in the middle, we're like screaming at each other about T-shirt designs.
Which means probably about 10 minutes after we finish recording Couch.
Yeah. So get your fisticuffs ready, boys. We're going to fist fight for T-shirts or something. I hope you win.
Thanks, Sterling.
Thanks, Sterling. Why don't you pull your weight around here, guy? We'll have... I'll put T-shirt, like, designs up on the screen right now. So, Martin, make sure... Whoa!
There's one right there.
I have to pull one there, guy. Now you're telling future Martin what to do, and he doesn't like that very much.
Like future Martin.
He doesn't like that at all. He doesn't like that.
Right.
He doesn't like that. He'd rather just cut your jump scare out and make you look real silly right now. So we're going to have T-shirts on Sterling's face. In fact, I'll probably just cycle all 4 T-shirts over Sterling's face right now. Yep, just to punish him for his insolence. Beneath a metal sky insolence. I hope insolence is the right word, because it immediately reminded me of insulin.
You keep using that word, but...
Insolence. I will look this up after couch time and either be really surprised or really maddened. And I'll take it out on digital Sterling.
I think you're right. That seems right. It's something nefarious people say.
I'm an English major. I hope that I know words okay. Right. Do other countries call it, like if you're French, do you call it French major? Food for thought. Right.
If you're French and watching this and can understand what we're saying...
French don't have internet anymore. Yeah, they lost it. It was like a privilege.
Was it?
They didn't do their homework, I think.
This isn't Germany you're talking about?
No, Germany's killing it right now.
Right.
Better than America. All we use it for is to get hacked by Russia. Dun 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 dun. Bum 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 bum. Anyways, so there's other stuff. We're gonna look at the peek of the board. Shirts. Yeah. So shirts should have cycled on Sterling's face right now.
One right
if not, we'll do it again.
If not,
we super fast for fun.
Right, so we're going to sell T-shirts, and we're going to buy them all. So that's at least, 3 sales. Anyways, if you guys really like what we do, and, you want to buy some Nerds and Stuff swag, these are limited runs. So there will be a certain cutoff date that we will set up. It will be appearing on screen right now, right here, hovering above my...
crotch?
I just touched your nipple on accident. I was going to say crotch, and then I touched your nipple, and then... Yeah, anyways, limited run T-shirts. Buy them while they're hot at the club getting crunked. Like Anders before he jettisoned out of an airlock. Spoilers! Anyway.
You're supposed to say spoilers first.
Yeah, spoilers come first.
That's not how the internet does it, though. No. They talk about Jon Snow getting killed, and then they say, spoilers!
God damn it, Martin!
Right.
Oh, no.
Here's another thing. One of our fans sent us packages, so we're going to open those presently. Prepare the packages.
First thing you got to do.
Oh, yeah, safety first.
Safety first.
Safety first. Yep. We're going to be using objects, and we are certifiable idiots. So Daniel's going to be putting on the gauntlet I made from scratch when I was a youngling.
We have a special ceremonial blade for this.
Yeah. It's only sacrificed 6 virgins. Mostly me and previous friends when I was a youngling once again. We got a lot of pomp and circumstance and not a lot of packages, so let's get this party rocking. Because we got to fill dead air while hey, guy, come on.
You have to be careful with it.
Yeah, safety first. Safety first, kids. Wear protection. Condoms. All right, we got to fill dead air while Daniel's fucking around.
I'm terrible at filling dead air, Martin.
So I'm Twitch streaming now. You can find us at twitch.tv/nerds and stuff. I usually play business management games or games that tilt me as fuck, like Bomber Crew. So make sure to follow and turn on notifications if you want to see Martin drive the struggle bus. This is so ridiculous. This looks super dangerous.
I'm not dead yet.
So we do want to thank our fan. This was sent by Emma. So thank you, Emma, so much for these packages. We have 2 things from her, and we'll be opening those presently as soon as Daniel figures out cutlery.
Look, it's a non-traditional box, okay?
You're a non-traditional box.
Maybe we use the other knife.
No, we got it. This isn't like battle-ready knives. It's not a real sacrificial dagger. Spoilers. So while
it's more of a ceremonial blade.
Yeah, while he's doing that, let's maybe tell a favorite story from our pastime, from our youth. I'll wing it. I got a story. Boom. I was hanging out with a friend. Oh, we got a box open. Sorry, that's the story. I was hanging out with a friend when I was younger. Yep, sorry.
Oh, well,
cool.
That's the story I was going to use.
We opened to a furry butt, so...
it's a butt!
Yep. So let's go ahead and put the hand in the box, giggity.
Right at
and
the butt.
We're going to pull out... what
Animal?
It's probably an Australian animal.
Is it a
Russell the wombat. Hello.
It's a wombat.
Wombats are large nocturnal herbivores native to Australia. They are nicknamed the bulldozer of the bush.
He's not
also,
reading a card. He knows
Sterling's nickname in college, bulldozer of the bush. We have a wombat here. Go ahead. You guys, fast friends. Look at this.
Yep.
Instantly friends. This is his.
Jenny would have been so embarrassed that we
spirit
didn't
animal.
know what this was called.
Spirit animal. Okay, so we've got a frog candy.
made with real frog?
Australian bush friends, milk chocolate green tree frogs.
There's a lot of bush jokes coming. I can just tell already.
Is this a backpack?
What?
Is this a kangaroo backpack?
It is
What?
a kangaroo backpack.
I'm gonna wear this to all my conventions now. Perfect. You guys are gonna be seen with me wearing this. It's got a Joey pouch. Shut the fuck up. It's got a Joey pouch and a traditional like ass backpack. Yeah, like it's got pajama like booties. Oh my god, it's got like a. Oh, I thought that was a paraphernalia pocket for like smuggling money.
That's an asshole.
Yep. No, I thought it was like a secret pocket that you could put like drug money in or something. Don't do drugs,
Is
kids,
that not
unless
the
you're
Joey
watching
pocket in
Echoes. Yeah, that could be. Well, this is the outward-facing pocket, so that's. I don't know, man. Thank you. This is amazing.
This is pretty awesome.
This is amazing. All right, what do we got next?
A lot of
Go ahead. You're gonna look like a guy at a furry convention before this box is empty. All right, we've got Tim Tams, double coats. It looks like the most irresistible chocolate biscuit.
Now, I've heard about these on the internet.
Yeah.
I've heard of the famed Tim Tam Slam.
Whoa. What's a
You,
Tim
like-
Tam Slam?
Bite the corner, like, off of two edges and, like, put it in, like, coffee and, like, suck it through it like a straw.
That sounds pretty intense.
What?
Yeah.
Extreme!
Like the biscuit through a straw?
So that's...
Use the biscuit
that's
as a straw to suck
Right.
the
Oh, I
coffee
was
out.
thinking that's
We've
like sucking
got,
a golf ball through a hose.
Perth and the Southwest by Steve Parrish. I'm assuming this is a bit of
Picture
a
book. We should be able to read this one.
traveling Australia. Perfect.
Nice.
It's got
Ooh.
color pictures. It's got more pictures than text, which is perfect for us.
This is why we
Yeah.
don't play many systems. We
Yeah.
have to read books.
So next time we're in PAX Australia or whatever other cool conventions are down there, we'll be able to check out Perth.
If you know of
and
any
the
cool
Southwest.
conventions in Australia that would like to have us as guests,
Nobody ever.
please get in touch with our
Nobody
agents.
ever. Daniel, please enjoy this
Whoa.
with your
Wacom.
Wacom tablet. All the
It's
best.
a drawing thing.
Okay. Do you want to open that now? Or?
I should.
Deal. I'll
Back
trade
here.
you.
You
Yeah.
can hold the box.
Yeah. All right, we've got more stuff in here while he opens this. This is called a, I believe it's called Picnic.
What a picnic.
It's a unique combination of peanuts, wafer, caramel, and Rice Crisps covered in delicious Cadbury milk chocolate. This is getting
To
me
take
wet
off the
between the
ceremonial
knickers. I'm
clothes.
loving this stuff.
This
Yeah.
is pretty awesome.
Deal.
This
Popcorn
is
Daniel.
a magazine that Emma actually was telling me about that is all about digital art and like how to improve your craft with it.
Deal.
Sweet.
Deal.
And if you guys don't know, I have been working with some digital art and potentially designing some t-shirts too.
Deal.
Because I didn't have enough hobbies already.
Oh, we've got a
This is
note.
awesome.
We've got a letter here. We've got a letter. We'll read the letter last. There's only. I think there's two more frogs.
candies.
One for each of us, but I'm going to eat them all because I'm fat. Because I'm a fatty.
All right. Okay.
All right, dear handsome gents and lovely ladies of Nerd.
It doesn't say that.
I swear.
It absolutely
I
does.
swear to you, Martin, Daniel, Sterling, Jenny, and of course, Kat. I applaud you in your finding. I can't read. I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
You're the English major. You're our only hope.
I'm not a reading major. I'm a writing major. I applaud you all in finding your niche and pursuing your goals to grow the channel with effort and commitment, and a genuine brand of humor that is all your own. Well done, guys. Many of us fix our dreams in the fragile space of the mind's eye in the realm of someday, maybe next year, or when I find the time. Between families, job, responsibilities, and the rest of the parade of crazy that we all live in day to day, It is great that there is a slot carved out in YouTube for nerds and stuff, where you have worked hard to make your dreams real. I wish you all success. I don't know what it is like in Idaho this time of year, but in little old Perth in Western Australia, the summer weather is teasing over the horizon, turning the tips of the grass brittle and brown, and the Fremantle doctor is settling in over the foreshore. Bathing pub patrons with the cooling. I'm just struggling. Momentary respite while they watch the sun go down and the weekend football. For Americans, that's soccer. Perth is a city with a population of about 2 million, which is probably bigger than the population of Idaho.
It is.
But much of the time it feels like a big country town. We have, quote, bogans rather than rednecks, Tim Tams instead of Twinkies. But at its heart, I'm sure there are many similarities with the U.S. Please find enclosed various Australian deliciousness. Tim Tams are a national treasure, and hopefully they find their way to you intact. I am hoping you will like them, as if not, we may need to test for signs of witchcraft. I refrain from sending you Vegemite, as no one wants to deal with that unless horribly drunk or slowly exposed to the stuff since childhood, where a tolerance is built up to where it can be spread on toast and sometimes to degrease engines and cauterize wounds. Oh, cauterize.
Cauterize.
Yeah. Your posters will arrive in a separate tube, which we'll be opening next. A pleasure in creating the fan art for you, and hope all goes well for Legacy of Ash and your future content. TTFN and all the best.
That's ta-ta for now.
Ta-ta for now, and all the best. Look
Winnie
at
the
you.
Pooh wasn't one that you really dug into as a kid.
Probably not. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Emma. This is incredible.
Poster tube. Whoa.
Oh, there's another tube
Whoa.
inside.
We got tubes and tubes.
It's that tube-on-tube action.
Can we... Let's get that knife one more time.
Snip that tape.
Hook.
We're all rednecks here, so...
Yeah, Daniel also just has another knife in his
sorry,
pocket.
what was Emma's word?
Bogan.
Yeah, we got a bogan here.
I'm a civilized bogan.
I'm from a civilized era with more civilized... We don't use blasters in Minneapolis. So uncivilized. As Obi-Wan would say. Right. This is to protect stuff, I'm assuming. Wow, there's a lot of it.
I could feel that static coming out.
That's what you get, guy!
My one weakness!
You were adopted. No, sorry, that's you. Yeah.
Spoilers!
So, if you've been part of the group long enough, you should know that Emma...
Here, I'm going to give you a hand with this. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a giant, badass poster that Emma
pretty
made.
Oh, it's
awesome.
signed at
It's
the bottom.
Yeah, she signed it.
That's amazing.
That's
That
incredible.
is
awesome.
amazing. All right, let's
those are
gently
copies.
roll that up. Yep. So we've got some more copies. I think what we're going to do is... Yep, we've got more, and they're like limited edition kind of
I'm
stuff.
just going to move this over
Yeah, so
here.
everybody from Legacy of Ash gets a poster from Emma, which is amazing. And there's another one in here that she would like us to sign and send back to her. So I think we're going to write horribly indecent or character quotes on the signing or on the back or whatever fun stuff.
what we do.
Lots of Easter eggs for you. So thank you so much for everything. We super appreciate it. Fans, I made this really sappy post the other day in the Facebook group. If you're not part of the Facebook group, there's a link down below where you can join the Facebook group.
Join us.
But I made this like a really, really heartfelt post the other day about what Nerds and Stuff means to me and how much time and energy we put into this and stuff like that. And truthfully, fans are everything for us. We do the stuff at the table because we have a lot of fun. We turn the camera on because you guys are a lot of fun to interact with. Mm-hmm. We played role-playing games long before we met the YouTube audience, before we met YouTube, you know. But I think since then, the last year and a half, it's been tough. It's been a lot of hard work, hundreds of hours of work and dedication, and you guys absolutely make it worth it. And it's stuff like this that shows us that all that time and energy was not wasted. So thank you so much for your comments. Thank you so much for your package. Thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. All of that stuff reinforces what we do and helps us strive to continue to do it strong when we're feeling burnout, when we're feeling exhaustion, when we're feeling down and out. You guys keep us going. So thank you so much for that. If you guys are crazy enough and want to send us stuff too, I'll put the P.O. box on screen real quick, and you can send stuff to that. We so much appreciate, and this was out of the kindness of her heart, and we didn't prompt her or anything. So thank you so much for everything. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, really, thank you. This is just incredible. Like, we got fan mail.
Yeah. That's like official as hell. We're feeling like we're official. We're just a couple nerds in a basement in Southeast Idaho. 1 out of 3 of us is a redneck. No, he's not a redneck. He's a physicist. He thinks physics are fun. Objectively not fun.
They are fun.
Subjectively, maybe. Objectively, no.
They are definitely fun.
We're 3 nerds in a basement in Southeast Idaho, and we have a global reach, and it's overwhelming at times, and it makes the world a smaller but more fun place for me in a lot of weird ways. So, thanks so much. And without further ado, 30 minutes into the episode, let's talk about our topic for today, shall we? Yeah. Right. So we posted a poll in the Facebook group. Once again, if you're not part of the Facebook group, I don't even know what you're doing watching Couch Time.
What are you doing?
Because Couch Time is just for you guys, mostly. This is all just like a big nerds and stuff circle jerk. Well, After Dark is the actual... Don't do that. We're going to get flagged for demonetization. The language didn't get us. Happened. The algorithm definitely gets this.
Fuck.
Right, so we posted a poll. We posted a poll, right? Asking what you guys wanted us to talk about tonight, and somebody recommended backstories, which is also the same thing somebody recommended for Sterling's upcoming RPG talk.
Yeah.
So we're going to try not to have too much crossover, but if you want to see, distilled down good idea RPG backstory talk, check out Sterling's video. If you want to hear us play grab ass for the next 15 minutes about backstories, you're in the right place. Let me tell you that much. Right, so let's talk about backstories. We kind of divided and conquered to talk about different ideas of the issues. So I'm going to have Daniel talk about writing longer, in-depth backstories for the intention of sort of getting into character a lot better, helping you, empowering you to roleplay better. I'm going to have Sterling talk about making very light and thin backstories so you can be flexible and you're not married to this story and you can be on your tiptoes. And I'm going to talk about the GM side. When you get a backstory, how can you implement it? What do you do with your character? What do you talk with your players before you even start having them write backstories and stuff like that? So should we start maybe with before the campaign starts, before we make character creation and GM stuff? Okay. Sure. So with a GM, and for you GMs out there, communication is so big, especially before a campaign starts. Every single GM out there has had, 10 times more campaigns kind of start in their heads or start in real life than actually came to completion and actually came to climax. Yeah. Right. I'm all jacked up, guys.
But like Photoshop lightsabers in here every time we do this?
No, I'm going to put dildos in there. No, I also don't want to do that as well. That's a lot of editing. No.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. So, backstories. Sometimes your players have an idea for a character before you even pitch them the campaign idea. And that can be very limiting as a GM. So it's really important for you as a GM to get your group together for either like a session 0 or even like a Facebook chat or whatever, a group, to iron out some of the ideas of your campaign. Right? Let's use Legacy of Ash as kind of some ideas, right? So before I sit down and I bring everyone to the table for Legacy of Ash, I might say, okay, this is a Star Wars campaign set right around the Episode 4 era, right? Where the rebellion is still very secretive, stuff like that. Now, here's the deal. Obviously, you guys probably aren't going to be blatant Force users, right? You guys are going to... So I'm going to kind of negotiate with them about what's true to the story. You're not setting terms for them. You're working out negotiation sort of thing. Maybe not even negotiations. You're definitely giving them an idea of the tone and the theme of your campaign, because that's huge. If you want to run a campaign that's very... kid-friendly. Say you're going to have your kid at the table. and one of your players is like, okay, well, I used to be a former prisoner who just takes whatever he wants. There might be a lot of problems at that table. Sitting down with your players and ironing out some of the ideas and themes of your campaign can help enable them to write better backstories. I would say for players, and they'll probably talk a little bit about this more, players, don't come to the table for session 0 with a solid character idea that you're not going to have any wiggle room on. If you're not willing to work with your GM has to be inspired to tell the story, for the story to continue for days, weeks, months. And if you're just like, I'm going to be Lando Calrissian, no questions about it, I'm playing Lando Calrissian in your campaign, he might not have even wanted to introduce canon ideas from the Star Wars universe. He might want to just go play off in the Outer Rim or the unknown regions or something. Lando's not going to be there very long because he has to go to Cloud City eventually. So you have to be flexible as players. And GMs, you have to communicate the idea of your theme in your campaign so that you set up your players for success. Okay, I'll let you guys talk, and then we'll bring it back to once their backstories are done, what to do with them, right? I have, a ream of paper or a Post-it note, and what do you do from there? How do you go from there? So let's talk a little bit about longer backstories, which are kind of more traditional backstories, I guess.
Right. So for me, when I am creating a new character, especially for a long-form campaign, I tend to build up a real idea of kind of the bare bones of a character. Then we have the session 0, and we talk about it, we hash out some of the logistics, some of those hard points, and then, whether I want to or not, I end up flushing out a lot of that character's life.
Like in the session 0, right? Or afterwards?
After session 0. So once we've hit those sort of clarifiers and we get the outlines of the campaign, what's good and what's not, then I just kind of start going to town. And just mentally, it just starts happening like in the shower or like driving out to work. I just start thinking about this person, where they lived, what they did, some things that may have happened in their past, and a lot of that ends up starting to get written down. And there have been times with characters I've written and given Martin like 5 or 6 pages of backstory.
To which I promptly skim and then whoosh, write down 2 names from it.
Nice. And it's gone. You can really, for me, and this was really big when I started our role-playing, because I hadn't quite gotten a real feel for RP yet. I was still getting there and was really nervous about making sure I knew how my characters would react. So, for me, when I would go all out and I would really write a whole, biblical doctrine about this character, it would help me with my decision-making process. It would help, as I'm sitting at the table, kind of lend information to like what's going on, how my character would react, and why I would do those things. Now, as I've become a better role player and just kind of better player in general, I don't necessarily need that same level of detail anymore. I can still appreciate it because you still flush out a ton and you give a lot of opportunities or openings for a GM to take things and run with them. But, it's not as much of a crutch as I need it to be anymore.
So let's briefly, before we move on, what are some of the distilled down pros of writing a longer backstory for you?
So the pros, when you run into situations at the table that your character may have influence or may have encountered before, you can kind of guide a decision that way. You have names. Names are wonderful things for GMs. Names can be drug up from your past, from your backstory, to make you do things, to drop plot hooks, to torture you in the future. They are very useful tools. You can help flush out some of the setting even. Depending on how much creative reign your GM is giving you, you can even flush out whole towns that you grew up in and stuff. So if you like to do that sort of world building, a backstory is a perfect opportunity for that.
And with that too, always make sure that backstory or that world building that you're doing is appropriate with your GM too. It's always good to just reach out to him and say, "Hey, can I create a town where I'm from?" And he's, then start working on the details. What's the predominant populace? He can help you define. If he made a map, he can help find a place for that town for you and stuff like that. So, what are some of the cons of making too big of a backstory?
Well, I'd like to give it one last pro point, kind of all distilled into one.
Deal.
It gives you a deep character before you sit at the table. Now, for cons, it gives you a deep character before you sit at the table. If you're not wanting to be flexible, you can have some problems. Because you'll maybe want to do something a certain way, but that's really counter to what the GM wants for the story. But because you feel like this is your character's backstory, he acts this way, it creates a conflict, which doesn't always let the story travel like the GM has intended or like it naturally should. For cons, you have expectations. You know, you may come into session 1 expecting everybody at the table to have that same sort of backstory, and maybe they don't. So you might be digging into someone in your first tavern setting and like, hey, you know, who was your grandpa? What did he do? Who was he wronged by?
Super great RP, first of all.
Yeah.
Who's your grandpa? Yeah, just, what's happened? Yeah.
And kind of one final con is that it really can back you into a corner. If you've already created situations where you feel like you have a perfect outline for your character for decision-making stuff, like, or the way they interact with others, and you ever want to leave that corner, suddenly you may have some internal conflict with that because you've already established this character in a certain way.
And I think, too, backstories should help create a launch pad for your character to roleplay. They shouldn't be your entire character story. They should be up to the point, and they should always end with an opportunity to go anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
And because I've written backstories, I've seen backstories written to where it's like, I'm going to go become the mayor of McCheeseville, and that's what my destiny has portrayed me.
We're in Pizza Town.
Yeah, but we're in Pizza Town, and we're heading to Burger Joint next. You know, like, that just doesn't make sense. And all of a sudden, before the game even started, you're being an asshole by creating tension in the story that it isn't needed, right?
I will say I got one final con that I just thought of.
Okay.
If you write a super detailed backstory listing all of your characters' triumphs and great things they've done, and you're starting at level 1...
You haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're starting at level 1, so long backstories have to be stuff that didn't give you experience to where it would put you at a different level than the original party. Now, there are ways to make an old man as a level 1 and have a rich backstory. You just can't be an adventurer. You can't have gone on many adventures and been this badass, right? So let's talk about short backstories, or, you know, just an idea of a character.
Right. So I'm not a great writer to begin with. I used to try doing the super long backstories, and my first character I wrote, like, pretty long. I had a good idea of what his backstory was. First thing I said in the game, didn't know who my character was. I knew what his backstory was, but I didn't know who my character was. With shorter backstories, it's important to develop those points. You develop who he is, why he's here, what he's doing. And then, really, from there on, it's creating opportunities for the GM. As simple as listing names of people who are important to your character, possibly like a rival or like mentor.
Yeah, so let's talk about pros and cons.
Yeah.
Right? So what are some of the pros about having a very short, brief, but strong idea backstory?
It's pretty simple to do, honestly, and it lets you get intimate with your character more than focusing on what's happened to them.
Or who they've been before. It gives you an idea for who they want to be.
Yeah. Another pro is, like Daniel said, he's delved into his backstory so he knows what his character's going to do. I'm kind of a fan of the side of the RP where you're playing to find out what your character will do, and sometimes that might surprise you. So with a brief backstory, it'll give you an opportunity to improvise and really be put in a pickle when something complicated comes up, and you have to act now. You have to act as your character would act. Another pro would be, doesn't take a lot of time to write, and you can do it last minute, I guess.
Also a con.
Also a con.
Yep. All right, let's move on to cons.
Cons are sometimes you don't give enough.
Well, and that can really create problems in roleplay.
Yeah.
If I hit you with a situation and you're like, okay, well, Remy is a brash asshole who doesn't care much about people of former Imperial, right? And I'm like, okay, well, Bria came back. What do you do about that? You're just like, okay, well, he might not have defined what his relationship with Bria was.
Yeah, just that They had a relationship.
They were in a relationship. And so then you have to make a snap decision in that moment about how important someone is to you. And that can inform role-playing. And if you don't like that snap-second decision, it can ripple over into future sessions or the rest of the campaign, depending on how important that NPC is or what decision you made. You know, and so that can definitely be a con.
Absolutely.
Is lack of preparation can create situations where you are stuck with a choice that you made in the moment that lives. But that's also part of a living, breathing game. So, and maybe one more con that you can think of for having a super brief character backstory.
Or if you have...
Your GM gives you shit because you didn't prepare anything.
Yeah. Well, and also as a GM, too, that can look like you're not very excited.
It looks like you're lazy, not interested.
Yeah, it makes you look like you're not excited for the campaign that he or she has probably spent hours working on.
I can guarantee Daniel and I will think about our characters the same amount, like, throughout our day leading up to a new campaign, but in the GM's eye, Daniel has prepared a lot more.
Or
because
Daniel's more excited.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So now that we've talked about these two different kind of ideas, I'm going to say, I'm going to use two examples of both of these kinds of things. I'll start with the shorter one. For anyone who's watched Westworld, I really like the show. I'm not a big Western guy, but one of the things that the show does amazingly well is talks about keystones. And if you do a short character backstory, have a keystone moment in their life. And keystone moments are the moment that their entire personality is built upon, right? It's the linchpin that their entire backstory rests upon. So as a character, you know, Remy's linchpin moment of his backstory might be that he joined the Imperial Navy to get permission from Bria's dad to date Bria. Bruto's linchpin keystone moment might be that, this is a little bit later, so if you haven't seen all of Legacy of Asher, you're not caught up yet.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. He started working for the Imperials to protect his family, to protect himself, and that launched him into the campaign, working for the Imperials. So they're both Imperials in different ways. They didn't even know it, and you know that is a huge moment for their character backstory. So that can help Remy. Say Remy has a sentence. That can help Remy inform him. He makes big decisions based off emotions. Bruto makes, he does anything to survive. That's a keystone moment boiled down into a sentence. Now I'm going to take another scenario. It's not quite a wall of backstory or anything like that, because you've read books where they just drone on and on and on about where they've been, who they've been, have flashback scenes or whatever. The Dark Tower is pretty much the book that does that. But I'm going to take Stranger Things Season 1. The opening scene of that show, besides the because I think it opens with like a monster scene, and then it shows the kids playing D&D.
Yeah.
So the kids playing D&D is the scene I want to talk about, especially as GMs using players' backstories. Those characters are all defined based off their decisions and stuff like that. As a GM, try and have an opening scene that allows each person to be their person in that space. When you see those 4 kids at the table, you see each one in their own element, right? You see the kid that disappears.
Will.
So you see Will. He hesitates on whether or not he should cast the fireball or the shield, the protection shield, and that decision that he eventually comes to later defines his thinking and his character. And then you see Mike as the GM. And he's being brash and bold and sets a Demigorgon on the table and baits him a little bit, so you can tell that he's a thinker and he's an intelligent character. And then you have the one with the lisp, Dustin. Yeah, I'm terrible with names. I love the shit out of that show, but I'm just always terrible with names. Dustin is like brash, and he's the mediator or the moderator between the group. And then there's Lucas, and Lucas is pretty bold, and he makes rash decisions. And later throughout the show, he kind of I don't love how his character's written later on, but in that first scene, you walk away from that first scene having a strong sense of each one of those characters. As a GM, try and give your players that moment. When we did our last one shot, Beneath the Meadow Sky, we had that staff meeting in the ship.
The staff meeting was great.
And you get a pretty good sense of each person's character. I had since watched a video talking about that Stranger Things thing, and then I wanted to have that first scene. But if you watched Beneath the Meadow Sky, even the opening scene of that one-shot, you get a sense of each one of their characters and what is important to them and stuff like that, you know? So it's really important that as a GM, you take their backstories and you create an opening scene where you can give them a moment to be that character and bounce off of each other and find their space and their personal space in between that. You might have two brash characters. You have to work with them as a GM, and they have to work with each other as players to figure out how they're different, how they're memorable. So now that they've given you all their backstories and you've been really mad at Remy because he didn't work at all on his backstory, and you're overwhelmed by Bruto's backstory.
You think these are parallels. They're not.
So when you get all that information as a GM, it's really important to incorporate into the story that you already planned, because most GMs come to the table wanting to run a campaign with an idea of a story. You prompted your players, you talked with them about the idea, the tone, and the theme, and now it's time to implement that. Try and grab people from someone's backstory and put it in the first couple moments of the game. We see Remy on the Imperial Star Destroyer getting ready to, attack Alderaan or whatever, and you see his commander, his rival. You see some of these characters interacting with him. That's telling Sterling that the person he gave me a name for, Commander Breeze, is important, because he gave me that name, and I gave it right back in the first opening scene. There's other characters that have characters that wouldn't make sense for the opening scene. Save them for later. We're just now 50 hours in, still confronting characters from backstories. I'm still ambushing my players with characters that weren't even in their backstories, that I'm making up and forcing them to be reactive to in the moment. So as a GM, it's important to take their backstories and incorporate into your story, but no one character's backstory should ever be the story, should ever dominate the story. It is the moment that led them up to the cusp of your adventure, and that's how a backstory should be written. Now, a lot of backstories are written with a direct direction in mind, and I would encourage you to be flexible. That's the whole thing about this, is the second you say, this is the path we're taking, this is the path I've taken before, this is where I'm heading, that's the second that you stop having agency and free will in your game, and you stop being able to do whatever you want. And that's the best part about role-playing games, is being able to do whatever you want in a fictional setting, in a safe setting with your friends and family. So, I think that's a pretty good ending point, unless you guys had any final thoughts about backstories.
No, and like you said, Sterling's going to have a video.
Yeah,
and
going over this in even more depth.
Yep. And that we're hoping that'll be in the next couple weeks, but there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in our lives. So
as usual.
So we'll make sure, and I'll actually have a card pop up right here when it is released. So if you're watching this a year from now, hey, good job, you. But also you'll be able to link to that.
I hope everything is well in 2018.
Oh, I think you're supposed to be dead, right? Isn't that what we talked about in the last channel update? Is that you died during the Vader? Oh, this is really meta right now, because we're in a time loop where you survived the miniature painting video.
Did creating the video change the timeline?
Man. Next time on Sliders.
Watching the video, did you warn me about it? And
I don't know, man. Is this Final Destination where a giant plane comes? I'm not going to edit that either. That would be really cool, though, if a plane came in, killed him. Me and Sterling are fine.
Asshole.
Perfect. So that's all the time that we're going to make for today.
I'm just going to need this real quick.
I challenge you to a duel. So that's all the time that we're going to make for today's session, or couch time thing stuff. So once again, thank you so much for the goodies. We are going to presently enjoy them. Thank you so much for joining us for this adventure that is Nerds and Stuff and or couch time. So we will see you again next time. And until then, tell a story, share an adventure. Now dance, monkeys, dance! Do the Legacy of Ash dance. I promised it last time. This is from last time's...